everyone, it's Deb from debwebbart. Well, recently I've been thinking about collage because it seems like over the years I always come back to it, and yet I haven't really investigated it quite properly, you know. And one of the things that I think is really fun about collage is that you don't even have to have that many art materials to do it. You could literally just have some magazines, a glue stick, some scissors, and just have fun, you know, sticking it down. It doesn't even have to be on special paper if you don't want it to be. It can just be for fun. And I think that's the one thing I'm realizing as I go on in my art journey, is that I very much link art to creative experience, but in a way that is enriching and a development of the soul. So I've been having a lot of ideas about how to help people to just connect. You know, there is so much going on in our world. There is so much connection that we are now disconnected. And when I say connection, I'm meaning more the social media, the messaging and all the things that go on. But in doing that, it's actually created a disconnect. So we've lost the element of community. Thankfully, not totally. So what I was thinking was, how wonderful is it if you can build up your own creativity in a way that doesn't have to be using fancy stuff, but just a way of allowing your mind to stop, of allowing you to just rest, but also create. And the reason I say create is because if you're just sitting there and you're not doing anything, or you're just scrolling on your phone, it's kind of soul destroying, because it's not a connection to self. The scrolling on the phone, which we all do, so this is not me pointing fingers. The scrolling on the phone is a disconnect, very much so, because you are disconnecting with self by looking at all the other things that are out there, and you're not actually connecting with who you are, and you're not actually developing your creative spirit and who you are as a person. So I've been thinking on this quite a lot, and realizing that in my life I really want to help people to connect to self. And one way to do it is through art, isn't it? So today, let's have a little journey into the art of collage, which doesn't, as I said, doesn't have to be all fancy schmancy, and it can just literally be intuitive. And I think that's the best fun. So let's have a little step into intuitive collage, and let's see how we go. Join me. Okay, so let's just look at a few things that I've got here. So I've got a little bowl in which to put my matte medium in, and that's just my preferred paste for sticking things down. You can have just a glue stick, that's easy. And obviously I've got a brush applicator for applying the glue. Then I've just got some random stuff. Now, sometimes it's things that I've pulled out of magazines. I mean, there's actually quite a lot here. Just going to tip it out, make it easier to get out. And, you know, let's just move that a little bit so you can see. Okay, so it's just, you know, some things that I've just cut out and created, and just different people even. Why not? You've got a whole range of things that I've just sort of cut out. Now, I've also got something here. Can't remember where I got things from, but it's got a little thingy here. Anyway, and then I've been I pull out pages from books. Obviously, it's certain books. Like I've got I've got some books that I put aside specifically for the art. And then these are just coming out of some magazines, and I just cut and keep little bits here. Then I've also got a huge box which is full of papers that I've done gel printing on, or maybe I've got extra, maybe I've just painted and done something on there, but it's only going to be used for collage. So I've just got collage paper. I've been collecting this for ages, but of course not really done much with them, so that's why I kind of want to dive in, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I do have a collage art course coming up that I'm going to, that a friend of mine's running, so I'm really excited about that as well, just to really hone in and tap into this wonderful way of doing things. Okay, so that's how I am at the moment. I've just got everything kind of just plopped next to me, and I'm just gonna play and let you watch as I do things. And I might stick things down, I might pull things up, I might move things around or whatever, but I'm gonna let you see the process, and hopefully you'll be inspired to tap into your creativity and see where that takes you. So really the only method I have is I sort of pick out from a bunch of papers some things that I think look quite attractive or just lovely, and go with that. And this one I just happened to have, some words that I wanted to include. It can be quite fun to balance your composition around wording or something like that. But you don't have to do that. It can literally just be a whole lot of different colours that you put down, and maybe different patterns and that sort of thing. Collage is most definitely one of the most freeing ways of creating that I've ever come across, really. It's just, yes, it's very liberating, isn't it? Now, this stupid piece of vellum didn't want to stick with PVA, with the matte medium, which is, I know, I've worked with vellum for so many years, and you'd think I would have known that, but nope, had to try, didn't I? Anyway, vellum normally works out better with a certain type of tape. You do actually get something called vellum tape, so that you can still see the words through. But if you use other tape, you can see the tape through. So anyway, just a little bit about vellum. And that's the quote. And yeah, so just using fingers to smooth. You can also use you can also have a piece of tracing paper that you put down and use a roller on top. Might get just a tad sticky, but you can do that. You can also use a credit card, or like an old credit card, to smooth out all the wrinkles. Now, so if you are a different kind of person to me, I'm not a perfectionist. So that means that I don't really mind having the wrinkles here and there, but there are definitely some people who get very bothered by it, so they want things to look a lot smoother. And I think if I was doing something for a show or something like that, most definitely there are there's standards that you're wanting to achieve. But by doing something just for yourself, try to let go a little bit, try and let go of the element of perfectionism, and just emphasize the play, okay? And utilize things that you might not even have thought of. So what I took there was from wrapping paper that had come in a box of something that I'd ordered, and I just tore it up. And I think that's another thing that's a bit of fun. Now, cutting things like butterflies. Butterflies are great to have as an aside, because you can also cut the wings like in half. Don't have to have the body, and use the wing section for little wings behind people or that sort of thing. And as you can see here, you try and see where you're going to place everything, and it's quite the decision. But I think for me, the thing that I use a lot of is I try and work out if I can make movement to go from one side to the other, so that you sort of, the eye isn't stuck in one section because that section's so interesting, but you're wanting to see movement. So like even going from the hands there, like just sort of, it kind of, that shape just goes up. And you'll see later on as I put it together, it starts to blend in the sense of the colors as well. So, you're wanting to be able to let the eye travel all the way around. I can't quite turn off my art brain, so you don't have to do that. But that just is how my brain works. One of the best things about collage is just that you sit in your room or in whatever place and you just play with little bits of paper and you forget about deadlines, you forget about all the things that are worrying you or have been on your mind, you forget about your sick aunt or your someone that you're meaning to, you have to take care of. Your brain just stops for a while as you seek out different colors and just, oh, that goes nicely there and that goes nicely there, but you're not thinking all this time, you're not thinking of the things that have made you sad or mad or that have affected you. At this time you're just absorbed in the process of tearing, sticking and placing down shapes. And that is why doing something like collage allows you to just step close to your soul, step close to the inner you, and just be. We don't allow ourselves in this day and age to just be. We seem to need to do all the time. And this is one thing that we can do which actually allows us to be. Wow, that's so profound. Anyway, so have a little look at what you've got at home. We also even get junk mail, and I think that's like a universal thing, to be honest. And even the junk mail, you don't even need, you can use the base of the junk mail, a catalogue, as where you're gonna, stick. It can become a little book. Just turn things into things, We have so much at our fingertips every day without having to go and buy expensive stuff. So have a little look in lots of areas that you might have some potential art supplies, because I think you'll be surprised. So now I've stuck down some other words, from the book, a piece torn out from the book, and then just stuck something yellow. Now you'll notice there's nothing else that's yellow. So I will need to bring that in, because it's what I like to do is I like to pull in the colours. I like to try and see if I can bring the colours together. So I've got a bit of green there, and I have a bit of green on the at the top of the page as well. So what I'm doing here is just bringing together a few colours so that there is an element of harmony in what I'm doing, okay? Once again, it's not necessarily that you don't have to know that or even do that, but it's just something that my brain puts together, I think, from so many years of doing art. You start to think in certain ways. And then that's just how you do things. I mean, when I was first starting, I was doing scrapbooking and card making, and then I was teaching it. And one of the rules was, if something looks like it's not working, add yellow. And yeah, it's just a bit interesting. I thought I'd pass that on in case you can use that. But yeah, there you go. A little bit of a tip for you. Okay, so here I wanted to put That piece, honestly. Have you ever dropped something and then you're just like, yeah, okay, that's going to stay there now. Anyway, so here I wanted to put some of the blue, and because there's little bits of blue on the page, and I thought, oh, well, let's bring that in. And because I wanted to kind of keep a bit of the shape of the mountains, so I just started tearing it up, kind of like a little mosaic, which is quite fun. It gets your fingers pretty sticky, but it is quite fun. And there's ways of tearing things up that is very handy, and that's to put your two thumbs quite close to the area where you're wanting to do a little rip. And yeah, it's, as I say, it's a good little trick. I usually just put my thumbs quite close together when I'm tearing, and just makes it easier. Makes it easier to control the area that you are tearing. So obviously I've sped this part up because there's definitely times when watching people do something can put you to sleep. But yeah, so that's why that's kind of fast and sped up. But it's all now starting to kind of come together. So I'm definitely in my art brain looking at it and working out what goes where, which is a bit of fun. The other thing that's really fun about collage is you can use it as a kind of mark making, because it doesn't have to be big pieces. You can just tear up little pieces and just place them in various areas to, once again, allow the eye to kind of travel around and think, oh, there's blue there, that's, see my fingers, I'm busy talking to myself, telling myself, which way around things need to go and what needs to go where. But yeah, when I was doing this, it's not that I discovered that I could do mark making, but it's, when it's there, but you don't really think about it. And then I realized, oh, I can do little bits of paper and kind of make them like a mark making, as opposed to using textures or markers to do that. So, it was a little revelation to me. I think every time you do art, you get these little revelations that occur, and it just enriches you for the next time that you do it. It's like it's this never-ending, exciting kind of journey that takes you on. This little butterfly is just the sweetest little thing, and there's some stickers that you can get that they are outline stickers, and then you could just put them over whatever paper you have and create just something a bit unique to you. It's quite nice. I have no idea what those stickers are called. I just call them outline stickers. I'm sure they've got a fancy name. And I think I bought them many years ago when I was going through all my scrapbooking card making time. I've got a lot of sort of stamps and texture plates and all sorts of things, which is what I used to use. So yeah, I like to try and incorporate them, So then I've got some paper that I used when I was doing some gel printing. Gel printing onto, I think that was a rice paper. And that's always a bit of fun, It's just gives you some interesting marks that nobody else will have, basically, because it's unique to you. And there's something fun and exciting about that. And there's also something fun and exciting about doing this kind of work in a book. So this book I've decided to dedicate to collage for me, and I have to give myself these rules, because otherwise I have 20 odd books, right? And I just pick up the one that's closest to me and start working in it, not really thinking that I'd like to keep it within a certain theme. I might have started like that, and then I just forget, and off I go on a tangent. So that's why I'm trying really hard to just make this this is my collage book, and I'm gonna really try hard to keep it as a collage book. Let's see how I go. But it's quite fun to do something like that, because then you build up a little book that, I don't know, it becomes uniquely you, and yeah, I think that's fun. How did you go? Well, let me tell you what happened to me. As I'm sure you saw in the beginning, I tried to stick down it was more of like a vellum, and I should have known it's not going to stick the way I wanted it to with glue. You have to stick that down with tape. And so that was a little bit short-sighted of me, so it's kind of wrecked that part. But I also was like, well, sometimes we pick up things that don't stick down well, so I'm just gonna leave it and see what happens. Okay, who knows, sometimes we just do that. Now, the other thing I wanted to stress was that it's a whole different thing sitting in your room, having a quiet time, music playing softly, and really just getting into the spirit of creating and doing a collage. Whole different thing doing that than it is when you have to film. So when you're filming, you can be intuitive, but at the same time, you're trying to make sure that you're not taking too long. So it can be not quite as relaxing. That is the one thing I will say. I haven't quite mastered the art of just being completely relaxed while filming. So yeah, I guess that'll come at some stage. But yeah, I mean, even so, as I stuck things down, I was thinking, oh crap, it's not like I've got this weird shape now. How am I going to fill that shape, and what's going to happen? And when things like that happen, it's really just a case of letting go, because if it's intuitive, you're going to face that. Okay, so there are ways that you can get around that. One of the ways is if you've got some sort of light source that you can put behind your page. So once you've stuck down some, and if you're left with some little odd shapes, you can put some light source under the page, like a light pad, I think they're called. Or you can hold it up against a window where light is coming in, and then you take a piece of the paper you want to put in there and you put it on top, and you just trace with a pencil the outline of that shape, and then just cut it and stick it in. So there are definitely ways around it, but just to be intuitive, you can just play and just put down the shapes. And if you want to keep the mountain shapes, that's fine. Like I did, I just then tore smallest pieces and created like a little mosaic above where there was like a bit of a mountain range, that kind of thing. So I think it's important to just make it up as you're going along, because that's the whole point of being intuitive. Okay, and don't think that you have to have all the latest stuff. I was using an old paintbrush from a long time ago. You can also use spatulas, that kind of thing. You don't have to use fancy schmancy things, okay? I must admit, my fingers are extremely full of glue. I probably could have done better there. You can also keep a piece of plastic next to you. You can apply the glue with the plastic down, and then just apply your piece there. That might also assist you. So there's so many different things you can do that will actually help. I know some person who uses an old book, I think, and when she's finished doing the glue, she just closes the pages and then goes on to the next page. Personally, I can't do that because I just think there's too much value in the book. Anyway, so there's lovely things you can do with collage. I hope you give it a go and just have a bit of fun. See how you go. Thanks for being here with me. Please like and subscribe if it resonates, and I will see you again next week. Bye for now.